The auditorium was packed. The air buzzed with anticipation as the final contestant took the stage. Bright spotlights illuminated the nervous yet determined face of 16-year-old Ethan Carter. He stood in front of a massive crowd, students, parents, teachers, and most importantly, a panel of esteemed judges who were about to decide the winner of the National Science Fair competition. Ethan swallowed hard, gripping the edges of his project board. He had spent countless nights working on his invention, an innovative water filtration system that could provide clean drinking water to struggling communities. It was simple, cost-effective, and if implemented on a large scale, had the potential to save lives. The head judge, Dr. Meredith Cole, adjusted her glasses and leaned forward. "All right, Ethan, we're intrigued. Tell us why you created this project." Ethan took a deep breath. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice was clear. "I created this because my family needed it." A hushed murmur spread through the crowd. Dr. Cole raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean by that?" Ethan hesitated for just a second before speaking. "Because we don't have clean water at home. We haven't for years." The entire auditorium went silent. The judges, the audience, everyone was stunned. The silence in the auditorium was suffocating. Ethan stood at the podium, his heart pounding in his chest. Every eye was on him, some filled with curiosity, others with pity. But he wasn't looking for sympathy. He was here to tell his truth. Dr. Cole cleared her throat. "Ethan, are you saying your family struggles with access to clean water?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, ma'am." He turned toward the audience. "Most people don't think twice about turning on the tap. But for my family, it's not that simple. We live in an old neighborhood where the pipes are corroded. Our water comes out brown, filled with rust and contaminants." A woman in the front row gasped. "My mom works 2 jobs just to keep food on the table," Ethan continued. "We can't afford expensive water filters, and buying bottled water every day? That's impossible. So, I decided to find a solution." He gestured to his project, a sleek, compact filtration device made from affordable, easily accessible materials. This filter can be built for just $10 and purifies water within minutes. It's simple, it's effective, and it could help thousands of families like mine. The judges exchanged glances, clearly impressed. Dr. Cole leaned forward. "Ethan, why didn't you tell anyone about your situation earlier?" Ethan exhaled. "Because I didn't want to be seen as a charity case. I wanted to prove that even if you come from nothing, you can still change the world." The crowd erupted into applause. But just as Ethan thought he could breathe, a voice cut through the noise. "This is ridiculous." Ethan turned toward the source. It was one of the competitors, Bradley Owens, the son of a wealthy tech CEO. He crossed his arms, sneering. "You expect us to believe that some kid from a poor family came up with this?" Bradley scoffed. "Come on, judges. He probably stole the idea from somewhere." Murmurs spread through the audience again. The doubt, the skepticism. It stung. Ethan clenched his fists. He had worked too hard to let someone like Bradley tear him down. Taking a deep breath, he looked straight at Bradley and said, "If you think I stole it, then test it right now." The room went dead silent. The judges glanced at each other. Dr. Cole nodded. "All right, Ethan. Let's see if your invention really works." The tension in the auditorium was thick. Ethan watched as Dr. Cole and the other judges examined his water filtration device. A pitcher of murky, rust-colored water sat on the table beside them. "All right, Ethan," Dr. Cole said, adjusting her glasses. "Let's see this filter in action." Ethan nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. He carefully poured the contaminated water into the device. The audience leaned forward, some whispering, others holding their breath. A moment passed, then another. The water dripped through the filter, and to everyone's astonishment, it emerged crystal clear into the glass below. Gasps filled the room. Dr. Cole picked up the glass, inspecting it under the light. She turned to one of the other judges, a scientist from the National Water Purification Institute. He pulled out a testing strip, dipped it into the water, and waited for the results. Seconds felt like hours. Finally, the scientist looked up. "It's completely clean." A wave of applause broke out. But not everyone was impressed. Bradley scoffed, arms crossed. "It's just a trick. There's no way some broke kid invented that." Dr. Cole's eyes narrowed. "Ethan, would you mind explaining how it works?" Ethan took a deep breath. "It uses activated charcoal, a ceramic membrane, and a small UV purification light powered by solar energy. I designed it to work, even in places with no electricity," the judges murmured among themselves. Dr. Cole turned to Ethan with a proud smile. "This could be a game changer for underprivileged communities." Ethan felt a weight lift off his chest. He had proven himself. But just as relief set in, a voice cut through the noise. "That's nice, but it doesn't change the fact that he doesn't belong here." Ethan's stomach dropped. Bradley's father, Richard Owens, a well-known billionaire and board member of the National Science Organization, had stood up from the audience. "All of these kids come from prestigious schools, well-funded programs," Richard said, looking at Ethan with barely concealed disdain. You don't even have the proper background for this. You shouldn't even be in this competition." The room fell silent. Ethan clenched his fists. He had expected resistance, but not this. Not in front of everyone. Dr. Cole, however, didn't hesitate. "Mr. Owens, this is a competition of innovation and impact, not privilege." Richard's face tightened, but before he could argue, a voice echoed from the back of the room. "Actually, Dr. Cole, I'd like to sponsor Ethan's project." All heads turned. A man in a sharp suit stepped forward. He was none other than David Sinclair, CEO of one of the world's leading clean water initiatives. Bradley's smug expression vanished. Ethan, wide-eyed, could hardly believe what he'd just heard. David continued, "Ethan's invention has the potential to help millions. If he's willing, I'd like to fund his research and help him bring this to the communities that need it most." A stunned silence followed. Then the entire auditorium erupted into applause. Ethan felt his heart race. This wasn't just about the competition anymore. This was his chance to truly change lives. And as for Bradley and his father, their expressions said it all. They had underestimated the wrong kid. Ethan could hardly process what had just happened. David Sinclair, one of the most influential figures in global water initiatives, had just offered to fund his invention. Bradley and his father sat in stunned silence, their arrogance crushed under the weight of Ethan's unexpected triumph. Dr. Cole stepped forward, her expression filled with pride. "Ethan, this is an incredible opportunity. What do you think?" The entire auditorium was waiting for his response. Ethan swallowed hard. This was everything he had ever dreamed of. He had worked so hard for this moment, sacrificing sleep, social life, and even meals just to make his invention a reality. But then, a single thought crossed his mind. His mom. She had worked day and night at the diner, taking on double shifts just to keep them afloat. Ethan knew that she was barely making ends meet, even with all her sacrifices. Could he really take this opportunity and leave her to struggle alone? David Sinclair noticed Ethan's hesitation and smiled kindly. You don't have to answer right away. Think about it. But know this, your invention can change the world, and I want to help make that happen. The crowd erupted into another wave of applause. As the ceremony wrapped up, students and judges came forward to congratulate Ethan. But his mind was elsewhere. He needed to talk to his mom. That night, Ethan sat across from his mother at their tiny kitchen table. The glow of the single overhead bulb flickered slightly, casting soft shadows across the room. His mother, Claire, looked at him with tired but loving eyes. So, tell me everything. Ethan took a deep breath. I won, Mom. Claire's eyes welled up with pride. Oh, sweetheart, I knew you could do it. That's not all, Ethan hesitated. David Sinclair wants to fund my project. He wants me to work with his team, develop the filter on a larger scale, and bring it to people who really need it. Claire smiled. That's wonderful, Ethan. That's what you've always wanted. Ethan looked down at his hands. Yeah, but it means I'd have to move to New York. I'd be working in a real lab, meeting scientists, and learning how to take this invention worldwide. His mother nodded slowly, waiting for him to continue. But that also means I'd be leaving you behind. His voice cracked slightly. Mom, I know how hard you work. What if something happens? What if you need me? Claire reached across the table, taking his hands in hers. Ethan, listen to me. You have a gift, and I won't let you throw it away because of me. This is your chance to make a difference. Tears burned in Ethan's eyes. But Mom, she squeezed his hands. I'll be okay. I've been taking care of things long before you were old enough to worry about me. But you have the chance to do something bigger than this town, bigger than our struggles. And I won't let my son hold himself back because of me. Ethan looked at her, really looked at her. The lines of exhaustion on her face, the quiet strength in her eyes. She had spent years sacrificing for him, and now she was willing to sacrifice again so he could chase his dreams. A lump formed in his throat, but he nodded. Okay, Mom, I'll do it. Claire beamed, pulling him into a tight hug. That's my boy. 2 weeks later, Ethan stood at the bus station, a one-way ticket to New York City in his hand. His entire life had been packed into a single duffel bag, and his heart was hammering in his chest. Claire hugged him one last time. Call me every day, okay? Ethan chuckled. Mom, I'll be in a lab most of the time, but I promise I'll call whenever I can. She wiped a tear from her eye. I love you, Ethan. I love you too, Mom. As the bus doors opened, Ethan took a deep breath. He was nervous, scared even, but he was also excited. This was just the beginning. He wasn't just a kid from a struggling family anymore. He was going to change the world.